Hey guys, Xaryu here, and today I have seen a lot of comments talking about Disc Priest changes in Battle for Azeroth Alpha. So today we are going to be looking at the changes for Priest. I'm going to do Disc Priest, Shadow, and Holy Priest actually, and briefly scrolling, I didn't see too much for Disc and Holy, but I saw a lot of changes for Shadow. So we're going to look at all three though really quick, and just as a reminder guys, all the percentage spell power changes are very arbitrary since they're doing a stat squish, and since they're going to be changed probably 5 more times before the expansion releases, so I wouldn't worry about any of the spell changes like, oh, Flash Heal is so weak or something like that. I'm just going to breeze right by anything that is a percentage difference and really try to look at the changes. So specs changed from Disc and Holy to Disc, Holy, and Shadow. Woo! Right away, leap of faith, guys. Coming back for Shadow Priest, one of my absolute favorite abilities of all time in the entire game, actually. It's one of the reasons I picked up Priest in the first place, and one of the reasons I've been playing it for so many years now because of this ability. Love being able to grip a trap, or gripping someone out of a bomb right before that bomb lands, or gripping on those clutch moments to save someone, maybe gripping them up onto the second story in Blade's Edge Arena. Love this ability, and the fact that it's coming back to Shadow warms my heart. So very, very, very excited. Leap of Faith is coming back for Shadow. Penance, Plea, Radiance, all kind of unchanged to me. Power Word Shield. Okay, now Purify dispels harmful effects on the target, removing all magic and disease. Alright, so it's a level 22 instead of 20, not a big deal. Cost change, slightly increasing the mana cost here. Cooldown change from 8 seconds to none. So if I'm reading this correctly, there is going to be no cooldown on Dispel. Wow. Charges changed from 1 charge to none. This is very, very interesting, guys. If I'm reading this correctly, we're going to have a 0 cooldown Dispel for at least Priest. I haven't looked at any other healers from this expansion, but at least Priest can have a 0 cooldown Dispel. That's a huge change, huge deal. I personally love it so much. This is how the Dispels for every healer used to be back in the day, and they changed it, so there was a cooldown on it, but now there's no cooldown, so we'll see, if there's anything else that modifies that. But wow, that's pretty crazy if true. Okay, now Shadow Mend, Shadow Word Pain, looks like there's no changes here. Shadow Fiend actually lasts for 15 seconds instead of 12, it looks like, and generates Insanity every time the Shadow Fiend does attack. Not a huge deal. Now Smite and Penitent, some slight changes as well. Now Talents, let's take a look at it. Feather doesn't have a maximum of 3 charges anymore. But if I hover over it, it still says 3 charges. So it might just be some changing in the verbiage here, some changes in the way they kind of wrote the spell out. So there's a lot of changes like that. So I'll have to breeze over this as well. Now, Dominant Mind, change it from Disc and Shadow just to Disc. And they're kind of just moving stuff around. So they're putting it in place of the Mindbender talent. Halo, slight spell changes there. Masochism, specs change from Disc and Shadow just to Disc, so that's probably a good thing. It's a very, very defensive talent. You don't see Shadow pretty much using that anytime anyway. Mindbender, moving it around once again as we did see. Power Infusion looks unchanged, to just changing the verbiage there a little bit. Soulless once again looks unchanged. Gonna try to scroll through this video a little bit quicker. I know these videos have been going quite long. Powered Soulless, they're putting it in place of Shining Force. So it looks like they're just moving a lot of things around here. And then Psychic Voice, which reduces the cooldown of your fear. And it's only available for Disc now instead of Disc and Shadow, which is interesting. And then it's now in place of Powered Soulless. So they're moving Soulless to the Shining Force, and then Psychic Voice to the Soulless slot. So they're just moving stuff around there. Now, Purge the Wicked is having a slight spell power change. Same thing with Schism. Same thing with Shadow Covenant. Shield Discipline now requires 60 instead of 45. All of the leveling stuff, I'm not personally, don't really care too much, just because I'm a PvPer, not a leveler. But if you do level, that could change things up a little bit. And they're moving it around just a little bit as well. And same thing with Shining Force instead of Shield Discipline and Guardian Angel. So slight changes there. So continuing to scroll down, looks like we still have Premonition, which is nice. Love that Shadow Word Death talent that they added actually in this expansion. Warlords, or not Warlords, Legion rather, and I'm glad that they're keeping that because I love that Shadow Word Death-esque mechanic. I think it's very, very good for the game. As we continue to scroll, we are on Holy Priest now, so not too many changes there for Disc Priest, and the first time I read through it, that's about what I saw as well. So if I missed anything, let me know. But Holy specialization, looks like we're just getting a bunch of percentage changes so far. Divine, Hymn, Flash Heal, Holy Fire, Holy Nova, Chastise, Sanctify, Serenity, Leap of Faith once again is all 3 specs now, so that's very, very nice. Mastery looks like it's very, very similar. Same thing with Prayer of Healing. Same thing with Prayer of Mending. Requires level 58 instead of 50. Once again, not a huge deal. Not super excited about any of these changes. Purify, though, now requires level 20 instead of 22. The cost has been slightly increased. Cooldown back down to 0, and charges none. So Purify is going to be, looks like it's going to be exactly the same as Holy as it is for Discipline. And if I'm reading this correctly, we're going to have a 0 cooldown Dispel, which is a crazy, crazy huge deal. It also does read, just to say this correctly, Dispel's harmful effects on the target, removing all magic and disease effects with no cooldown. So in the past, guys, it was just one magic and disease effect, right? Just one, and it had no cooldown. So you could just take off one, take off another, and that was kind of out of the meta. A lot of your global cooldowns went to dispelling. 0 cooldown with all seems a little powerful to me, but we'll have to see how it plays out. That seems just a little bit strong. As we're scrolling down here through the talents, Afterlife requires level 60 from 45. Tier 4 talent in place of Symbol of Hope. Angelic Feather, once again, changing the wording there. Scrolling through, now Sincere now requires level 60 up from 45 in the tier 4 talent in place of Light of the Naru. Once again, minor changes. Same thing here, minor changes for Guardian Angel. Same thing with Light of Naru. Same thing with Shining Force. And same thing with Symbol of Hope. I won't bore you guys with all the shifting. They're just moving stuff around, so hopefully it feels a little bit smoother, a little bit nicer, and it makes a little bit more sense. But yeah, so for Holy and this, guys, not a ton of changes, but now we're jumping into the Shadow Priest changes, which I was definitely pretty excited just reading. So cooldown changed from 9-second recharge to 7.5-second recharge. So Mind Blast is going to have a slightly less cooldown. Maybe you want to put some of that burst back into the rotation instead of just focused on more of the spread pressure type of Affliction Warlock feel where you're just rotting your enemy. Adding that Mind Blast into a shorter cooldown kind of allows for more of a bursty playstyle. So hopefully that will come through in the gameplay. Then every time I see this new, I get very excited. We got that new Mind Seer talent, which isn't really new. We had it, and then it got removed. Now they're re-adding it. So if you might be confused if you're reading the screen right here, it says removed Mind Seer. This is the passive ability into your Mind Flay. Now they're adding Mind Seer back to its own ability. So instead of it just being built into Mind Flay, we have Mind Seer and we have Mind Flay. So more abilities is more better, as I like to say. Now Power Word Shield looks like it's slight spell power difference. Purify Disease, slight mana cost difference. And once again, at the mana cost, guys, we're not gonna... It's kind of hard to tell what is going to be what, but slight difference. There's 2.6 to 1.3% base mana. Looks like you're going to be able to press it a little bit more often. Shadow Mend, just percentage differences, not a huge deal. And as we're scrolling through here, remove Shadow or Death having 2 charges. So not removing Shadow or Death, but just the fact that it has 2 charges. Now it only has 1 charge, it looks like. Actually, I... correct myself, charges changed from 1 to 2. So they basically just cooked this talent, just baked it right into the actual Shadow or Death, which it seems like they're doing a lot of this, right? Removing one thing, but adding it somewhere else into the game. So if your favorite thing is being removed, don't be too afraid, because it might just be, you know, cooked in somewhere else. Cooked in, baked in. I'm a baker now, boys. Shadow Word Pain, looks like they're doing some slight changes there. Same thing with the Shadow Fiend treatment, 12 to 15 seconds. Shadow Form, Shadowy Apparitions, now Silence, requires level 52 up from 50, not a huge deal. Vampiric Embrace is a 3-minute cooldown, or has a 3-minute cooldown. Now it's going to have a 2-minute cooldown in the new expansion. Not bad. That's 3 always seemed a little bit high to me for that anyway. Slight changes here on Vampiric Touch and Void Bolt. Void Eruption looks like it's getting some changes. So the cast time is changed from 2 seconds to 2.5. That seems so long to me in PvP. But we might have an instant cast anyway, like we kind of do now. But 2.5 seems very, very long. And the range has been changed from no range to a 40-yard range, which also makes me think, guys, that you need a target. So right now, Void Eruption, guys, you can do it kind of like behind a pillar. You don't really need that range or that target. But I guess with a 40-yard range, you're going to have to cast it onto somebody, which is a little almost like a slight nerf because you can't just do it out of line of sight. So interesting there. Increasing the cast time, and you have to target on someone, so hopefully it'll be a little bit more powerful as well if they're nerfing it so much. The cooldown changed from 1.5 seconds to none. It's not really a factor at all, since it's, you can only do it every 20 seconds anyway because of the insanity cap there, but whatever. And then we're scrolling through the talents. Suspicious Spirits, a little bit different. Dark Void, not sure what this is. In place of Mind Bomb, Void Eruption applies Shadow Word Pain to all targets hit. Okay. I almost like Mind Bomb better, but interesting choice there. Seems like you'd want to just get the Shadow Word Pain out and then Void Erupt anyway, but maybe this talent will be good in like a PvE situation, or maybe there's some random PvP application that doesn't immediately come to my mind. Now, speaking of Mind, we have Dominate Mind once again, kind of changed in the same way. Tier 4 talent in place of Mindbender. I think we've already talked about this and we looked at the disc changes up there. Last Word reduces the cooldown of Silence by 15 seconds instead of Lingering Insanity. So this is actually kind of cool. I like having a lower cooldown. Silence reminds me of kind of a blanket silence back that mages had back in the day, and having a lower cooldown silence allows Shadow Priest to do a lot more. So Last Word definitely seems like a good choice there. Legacy the Void has it's like a talent that reduces the cast time, so we were just talking about that. So that'll be interesting if that will be kind of needed, since the cast time is so much longer than it previously was. Lingering Insanity, changing it with Power Infusion, started moving stuff around once again. Masochism, we already talked about that. Mind Bomb in place of Reaper. So Mind Bomb is not being removed, it's now being in place of Reaper of Souls. So they're moving a ton of stuff around. Power Infusion, Psychic Horror, Psychic Horror back in the game. I don't know how I missed that, but Psychic Horror terrifies the target, stunning them for 4 seconds. Guys, this is one of my absolute favorite Shadow Priest abilities. When I first started playing Shadow Priest, this is what really drew me to it. So with a short cooldown Psychic Horror, short cooldown Silence, ooh, I'm going to play some Shadow Priest next expansion, boys. It's going to be fun. Now a Shadow spell, now requires level 60 down from level 74, and cost change from all Shadow Orbs to none. So it's literally just a 4-second stun on a 45-second cooldown, not on stun DR. That's incredible. Oh man, this is going to be so much fun to mess around with. Definitely very excited for that. Psychic Voice, I think we've already brushed on that a little bit. Sand Lane, slight changes there. Now requires level 30, down from level 75. In Tier 2 talent in place of Masochism. It's kind of hard to mentally wrap around all of where everything is going, but hopefully it feels a little bit smoother. Shadow Crash now requires level 75, down from 100. In the Tier 5 talent in place of Shadowy Insight. And then Shadow Word Void, they're slightly changing the modifier on that as well. As we continue to scroll down, Shadowy Insight procs per minute change from none to 3. Okay. Wow, that's interesting. I wonder if that's a 3 cap or a 3 minimum. Maybe a 3 cap, I'm not sure. Tier 1 talent in place of Fortress of Mind. So once again, shifting everything around. Surrender of Madness. Wow, so they're actually making it so it doesn't kill you anymore. Then you take damage equal to 90% of your maximum health, and you cannot generate insanity for 30 seconds. Wow, that's crazy. So now they're made it as a 4-minute cooldown. It doesn't actually kill you. So I wonder if this is actually going to be pretty good now. In PvP, it's just like a Reels cooldown, and you just pair it with Dispersion, something like that. That might be really interesting to mess around with. Twist of Fate, slight nerfs there. Void Ray, just completely removed, actually. It just says removed. And then Void Torrent, the artifact ability from Shadow Priest, is staying in the game, which I'm very happy about, in place of Shadow Crash. Happy to see them keeping a lot of these artifact abilities, guys. I think the game would be very boring without them. And then as we just quickly finish up the video, I want to make sure there's no more changes here. Dispel Magic, cooldown change from none to 6 seconds. So now the offensive Dispel is going to have a 6-second cooldown, which is mind-blowing that the defensive one wouldn't, but the offensive one would. I am not a huge fan of this change, but like I said, we'll have to see if there's another talent that makes it have no cooldown in PvP, or if there's another talent that kind of modifies that, or if a 6-second cooldown just with the way with the new expansion feels might actually be very fitting. So my initial gut reaction is that's a terrible change, but like I said, we don't really know yet. Mass Dispel now has a 45-second cooldown instead of a 15-second cooldown, so that's a lot different. Once again, gut reaction is that I don't really like it. I would have Master Spell on no cooldown because it has such a big mana cost that you can't spam it anyway. Maybe a 5-second cooldown, but 15 seems kind of felt kind of long anyway. 45-second cooldown on Master Spell makes me a little sad, but once again, maybe Blizzard knows best. Maybe it'll actually feel pretty nice that way, given the pace of the expansion. Power Word Fortitude. Now, this is probably the single-handedly biggest change that I'm excited for. Once again, kind of like the Arcane Intellect change from Mage. I saved it for the end of the video. Infuses the target with Vitality, increasing their stamina by 10%. Guys, this is so incredible for the game to get buffs back into the game. The Arcane Intellects, the Mark of the Wilds, the Power Word Fortitudes. Being able to rebuff is such a key part of the game, and I love, love, love that they're adding this back. So Power Word Fortitude, there we go, Priest. That'll wrap up the Priest video. Thank you so much, guys, for watching. Make sure to thumbs it up if you liked the video. Make sure to thumbs it down if you did not like the video. And talk to me if you guys want to see any more of these class videos for Battle for Azeroth, the new expansion. This is just the alpha beta. Keep in mind, a lot of these things can continue to change. But guys, I finished the Rogue video, the Priest video, and the Mage video, my 3 favorite classes in the game. But if you guys want me to cover any other classes, let me know down below. Thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace.